Now, if you know, obviously I care a lot about politics. Most of the people who listen to this program care a little bit about politics or a lot. Can you just go put a big 10-foot sign for Donald Trump or Glenn Youngkin or, you know, whoever your preferred candidate is in your front yard? I think the homeowners association might say, nah, it's your property, but no, we don't do that here, right? I mean, a lot of places, there are very strict rules about that. And if you're a renter or you know, you've got some sort of arrangement with the property owner where they told you that wasn't, you know, that thing's not okay, then there shouldn't be any debate about that. Wait till you hear about what is happening at the University of Virginia. Again, Jim Bacon from baconsrebellion.com, the website that covers the blog that covers a lot of stories you won't see anywhere else, is with us. So tell me what the deal is on the lawn at UVA, the picture-perfect Thomas Jefferson designed postcard, beautiful site that everybody from around the world wants to come see. And some of these kids who've been given the honor of living on the lawn have decided once again to kind of desecrate the place?
Yeah, they sure are, John. It just this is an old story, and it keeps repeating itself. It's really sad. The lawn is part of the academical village, which includes the rotunda. It's an architectural masterpiece. It is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Thousands of people every year, women, children, grandmothers, come visit the place and to see it. And yeah, so we would expect it to be governed by certain rules of decorum, and this has nothing to do with freedom of speech. It has to do with respecting the place. And but the student activists at UVA who find themselves on the lawn don't seem to be willing to respect that. As you may recall, our group, the Jefferson Council, got going a couple of years ago after one of the lawn residents posted a big, huge sign with that said F blank 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 UVA. You can fill in the blanks.
Real classy, real intellectual, real upscale and thoughtful. To that's what you can come up with if you've got a problem. Is the most gutter language that someone who doesn't have a third grade education can articulate.
Right, yeah, we're so impressed by the level of intellect there.
Yes, right.
So anyway, so alumni rose up and just furious, and we organized Jefferson Council, and we bombarded the administration, and so what they said, okay, we can't take this down. Because, even though it violated the terms of the lease agreement, they said because they hadn't been enforcing it from the beginning, and if they suddenly turned around and decided to begin enforcing the rule against putting all this garbage on the lawn doors, that would constitute a violation of the woman's freedom of speech. Okay, so we said, okay, fine, and what they promised to. At the end of the semester, they would kind of rewrite, kind of tighten up the law, the lease agreement, and they would begin enforcing it. And so it wouldn't become a problem again. And what their solution was, they put this little kind of discrete bulletin board on each of the doors. And so if you wanted to post something, you could post it on the bulletin board. So that was the idea. And so the next semester rolled around, and it was... it kind of worked, and but as you know, students are always going to push the limits. They're always going to push the envelope. Right. So it's kind of like they started putting stuff on the bulletin board that just kind of was a little bit bigger than the bulletin board, and it overlapped. And then the things got bigger, and then they would maybe put a second flyer up on their wall, maybe not a really big one or not a vulgar one, but they kept on testing and incrementally, and so now we have arrived at the result that 5 lawn residents, presumably all of them are sympathizers with student justice for Palestine and the Palestinian cause, have basically papered their doors almost top to bottom with a list of the 9,000 martyrs of the first week of November, which is these Palestinian civilians who were killed after the Israelis
after Hamas slaughtered the Jews, but okay,
yes.
Little detail there. Yeah. Okay, I get your point. Okay, and so what's the reaction from UVA? I would think they would come in and say, guys, you're certainly entitled to your opinion as long as you don't threaten to murder Jewish students on our campus, but you're not going to be able to put these leaflets on the door. We've been clear what the rules are. You can go give a speech if you'd like to, but you can't do this on the door. Is that what they've done or not?
To our knowledge, nothing has been done. I don't know if the flyers are still up there, but what Students of Justice in Palestine did is they took photos of a couple of these doors and they posted it on Instagram. And so it's there for all the world to see what they did. That's actually how I found out about it, because I haven't been to Charlottesville in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And so clearly, at the point that the photographs were taken, the administration had done nothing. We've heard absolutely nothing about it since. And next time I'm at UVA, I'll go by and check and see if those things are still up there. But we posted about it on our blog. We've heard absolutely nothing, no response at all. So it seems to be that once again we have a situation where a rule was made and it was kind of incrementally violated. The university authorities never enforced it. And I'm sorry, I can't help but think that one of the reasons they didn't enforce it, let's put it this way, if that had been like a big pro-MAGA flyer all over the wall and big pictures of President Trump all over the door, I think it would have been a different reaction.
You might have had a fire on the lawn, to be honest with you, the way people are behaving these days. Well, that's a good point. I mean, look, I think I could have a very animated, probably unpleasant conversation with these particular students about the position they're articulating, but I would respect their right, assuming they were smart enough to battle with me in the world of ideas, to take the position they're having. But there seems to be something going on at UVA where certain people have to obey the rules and certain people don't. And that leads me to the next story, which is probably a bigger story, about UVA, I think, persecuting their own employees over the vaccines, not giving the leeway for religious freedom. And we're seeing the price tag for this. What's the insight? Then the last 90 seconds here, which is kind of shorting you a little bit. What's the story here?
Well, about a year ago, a dozen former employees of the University of Virginia health system, the hospital system, filed a complaint saying that they had been deprived they were not allowed to have religious exemptions for taking the COVID vaccine. So the UVA hospital wanted everybody to take the COVID vaccine on the theory that it would reduce transmission of the disease and prevent harm to patients. Well, we now know that COVID vaccinated people can transmit the disease too. Anyway, but what they did is there's this law that says people are allowed to apply for religious exemption. So what UVA did said, well, they identified about 8 or 9 denominations, religious denominations, that is part of their official theology, and said if you're one of these denominations, you're exempted. But if you're not, you don't get an exemption. And so they had all these other people. I mean, it's like Christianity is, particularly evangelical Christianity, is kind of fluid. And, there's all sorts of offshoots and, and sects and different groups and people with different ideas about things. And so these people were claiming religious exemptions, and UVA said, nope, sorry, you don't belong to one of these approved denominations. You don't get one. So, in effect, they were basically positioning themselves as the arbiters of theology.
And, of course, the twisted irony of the school that Thomas Jefferson founded doing that when he is also the man who wrote the Statute for Religious Freedom. I mean, is that lost on them? Do they even know who Thomas Jefferson is and his principles for them to behave this way?
I'd say the mid-level bureaucrats at the health system who devises policy and enforce it probably are not familiar with Thomas Jefferson's Statute of Religious Freedom.
It's really shocking. I appreciate the fact that you're bringing that up. And then I would ask, how much money are we spending, taxpayer money and the like, to litigate all that? I mean, these people have created a huge mess. Yeah.
we filed a FOIA and Freedom of Information Act request. At that point in time, and as of November, it's $1.8 million. It's active, ongoing litigation, so it's probably well over $2 million. I mean, you know what lawyers get these days, John? I mean,
unfortunately, I'm familiar with it.
They're like $800
somebody's getting
an hour,
wealthy.
You know?
Jim Bacon from baconsrebellion.com. I hope you'll check them out. I read them every morning to see what I missed with everybody else who's not fairly covering the news. Jim, I appreciate the chance to talk to you always. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, 8:47. We're back with more in a moment.